Oh, did you get it?
Yeah, the link I just put on Facebook may be wrong now.
I gotta re-Facebook it. Yeah. Thanks, Megan. We appreciate it. I might need to sit here and talk because if Megan's getting a, we'll pull it up on our own phone. See
I like it where it doesn't have the camera on half of the table. That's good.
I'll fix that for you.
Shouldn't have said anything.
You shouldn't have said anything. You guys are the stars of the show.
Yeah, you use your camera as a light sign.
It'd be nice to have like
Oh,
a
there you
six
go.
line red.
There you go. I don't know if I have any red spots. I got some high stain spots. No red spots.
That'll work. Notice I'm cutting me out of the picture. Just kidding. I'll put me back in. Wrong one.
Are you streaming this meeting too?
Yeah, because I figure with the electric aggregation information, if people are curious.
Oh, that's true.
But Mayor, I think we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, you want to do the pledge of allegiance for this or?
Why not? We don't have to. We're gonna do it in the next meeting, so.
Yeah, let's do it the next meeting.
All right. Call the meeting to order. Just for everybody's information, I attached the Safety and Service Committee meeting minutes from May 4th and the Administrative Committee meeting minutes from May 4th. As we discussed, we're going to try this out for a little while, see about a full council, our committees. I think if there's ever not enough to talk about, I can email council and we could start a little bit later if we want to. But anybody from the Safety and Service Committee, which is Mr. Griffith, Mr. Beck, and Mayor Myers, have any changes to the safety service minutes?
No. Motion to approve. Second.
We just do an all in favor of those three? To approve? Aye. Opposed? And then the administrative committee, Doug's not here, so Mr. Beck and Mr. Mayor Myers, any changes to the administrative? Mr. Beck, Mayor, do you second that?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. This is kind of a new committee, so we don't have any old business, but for new business, I did ask Bob Snavely.
Yep, you got it.
Yep, to come out. He's with Palmer Energy. He's been working with the village of Fredericktown, the county, as well as Mount Vernon on their aggregation programs, and he met with the mayor and Mr. Beck and I about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And that's when we got this process started. So he's really here to really break down the program for us and then answer your guys' questions. So I'll let you have this floor.
Thanks. You want me to come up here?
That'd be great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. My name is Bob Snavely. I work for a company called Palmer Energy. We're based out of Toledo, Ohio. We're energy consultants. Our company was founded in the 80s. We started with large natural gas users, usually industrial clients. And then when the electric market deregulated in the early 2000s, we started doing electric purchasing. And one of our biggest piece of business right now is the CCAO, which is the County Commissioners Association of Ohio. We are the consultant for their energy program. So we work with 70 plus counties in Ohio where we do electric and gas purchasing for their facilities. along with electric and natural gas aggregation, which is kind of what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. Sort of the plan that we've used in many of these counties is we've put electric and gas aggregation on the ballot. It's a ballot issue. First of all, let me kind of take a step back here. Is everybody familiar with what it is? When I say electric or gas aggregation, are you familiar with that concept?
First time I ever heard it, so.
Okay, so basically what it is it's a ballot issue, and it's the community coming together to shop and get a discount on the electric generation portion of the bill or the natural gas generation or natural gas portion of the bill. So your electric and gas bills are split up between about half of it is regulated, poles, lines, things like that you can't do anything really about. And then the other half is deregulated, which is what you can shop. And so what aggregation does is it's a ballot issue, it's voted on, and if it passes, it allows everybody to group together to get a discount on that electric and gas generation. And the reason why you do it is the sheer purchasing power. The more of something you buy, the better price you can get. And what we try to do, and what we've seen work really successfully around here is a good example is Muskingum County and Licking County, where villages have ceded their authority to the county to create a larger group, thus creating more purchasing power for everybody who participates in the program. And so the long and the short of it is purchasing power. But the process is it has to go on the ballot. You have to pass a resolution to put it on the ballot. That's something that you would give to the Board of Elections. For us, I think we're looking at November as that possibility for Centerburg. And currently for Knox County, Mount Vernon is going through the process. Their readings of ceding authority to the county. Fredericktown, I think tonight is their final reading. They're going to cede authority to the county. And so we're starting with those two, the city and village. And then we're going around to the other villages to see if they have interest in joining the program. Townships can participate as well. It's the same process. Put it on the ballot for the township. Folks in the township vote on it. If it passes, they can cede authority to the county and be part of the group. It can be done on your own. You could do it on your own. We do have not many anymore, but we do have a few cities and villages that do it on their own, they're their own aggregator. But generally, the benefit is the purchasing power to be part of a larger group. And then from especially smaller villages, the benefit is all the paperwork that goes along with that. We do most of it, but the county has more resources in order to kind of deal with that process. So in other words, you get the benefit of joining the group and the pricing that comes along with that, and really not much work at all on your end. We do encourage the villages and cities to send representatives when we go over RFP results. So I'll get into that. I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But I have a couple of handouts that I placed in front of you. And one of the ones I just kind of want to quickly go over is this the steps. You see this? These are the steps that you go through after it passes on the ballot. So first and foremost, you put it on the ballot and people have to vote on it. Prior to that, I mentioned this to Mayor and Rick when we met, is part of my job is to do informational meetings, to get people together in the community so they understand what they're voting on. We really look at it through the lens of educational. What is it? How can it help? We don't really promote anything, so to speak. It's kind of, here's why we're doing it. Here's why it's going on the ballot. You make your decision on whether you'd like to vote for it or not. But I'm happy to do that. You know, whatever, you know, I kind of look to the villages as to where we want to do that, where we can get people together and so forth. But that's part of our responsibility as well. I mean, I refer to it as like informal public hearings. We have to do public hearings formally after that. I don't know why. I would think that the public hearing would make more sense before the vote, but that's here nor there. So getting the word out, educating, talking to people, as a village council, your help with that or support with that about answering questions and bringing it up in different situations. You guys are around town and we're not. So making sure people understand what they're voting on here is important. So we place it on the ballot, and assuming that it passes, what would happen is the village would cede authority to the county. We then have to do 2 public hearings. They can be done on the same day. Usually nobody shows up to them. So keep that in mind when we're scheduling, I guess. The commissioners will approve a governance plan and accept that with a resolution. So a governance plan basically talks about what the aggregation does, and who's participating and so forth. We help them with that. We file all that paperwork. We process the PUCO certification application. So in order to run an aggregation program through the state, you have to be certified through the PUCO. We're just getting that process started for the county, so they will be certified aggregators by the time, probably even before it goes on the ballot here in November. Definitely before. You submit that paper to the PUCO, the certification comes 30 days later, and then we'll do an RFP and to all the electric and gas suppliers out there. So we're at Palmer, we're completely independent. The CCAO program is independent. We're not tied to a certain supplier. Suppliers send in bids, as long as the supplier is financially viable, which we check all the suppliers that we work with, make sure that's the case. Then we're sort of agnostic. Doesn't matter to us who gets the work. It's, really, when it comes to aggregation, it's pretty simple. It's basically the cheapest price kind of wins. Terms make a difference, whether you want to go 12, 24, 36. And we put together a recommendation, pretty thorough recommendation that we go through with the commissioners, and then hopefully, whether it's mayor from Centerburg or whatever villages that are participating in the city, we go over that with them and the commissioners at one of the commissioner meetings. At that point, we'll narrow down the suppliers to either the top 2 or 3 and have the prosecutor review those contracts. Once you get approval there, we'll set up a refresh and signing date for the commissioners. Once we get our price locked in, we'll go through the list of utility customers here. So it's important to know this is an opt-out program. So if you're directly with the utility, you'll get an opt-out letter in the mail. If you don't do anything, you'll be in the program. If you fill out the opt-out paperwork, you're out of the program. If you are already shopping, you're third party, you've already gone out and secured your own price, you will not get an opt-out letter, but you can participate. We warn people that make sure you know what your contract says. You don't want to leave a contract if there's a fee associated with that. If there's not, and you want to join the aggregation program, you can do that. But you won't be getting a letter in the mail because you're not allowed to do that legally. You'd be interrupting somebody else's contract that they've put in place. That's another point that we work with you on, is to get information out to the community for the folks that, since you don't have an aggregation here, to make sure that they know about it, that if they want to participate. And so posting that on your website or on Facebook or wherever, we recommend doing that, just so that the folks who don't get the opt-out letter are aware of it. You have 21 days to opt out. If you don't opt out, you'll be automatically enrolled. One of the main questions that I get, I think we talked about when I was here last, is why would you do an opt-out program rather than an opt-in program? And the answer is, in an opt-in program, your participation is very low. It ends up being like 10% of the community. So low that any sort of benefit from a pricing standpoint isn't there anymore. So there's really no discount, and sometimes the pricing I've seen opt-in programs with pricing higher than the utility rate. Why, what's the point of that, you know? Opt-out programs you see like, depending on the village, it depends on county, depends on where you are, but 60-ish%. When suppliers see that kind of participation, they can kind of ballpark, you know, how many households, how large, and then put forward a price that reflects a discount there. So it's basically that an opt-in program doesn't really allow for much of a price break, whereas an opt-in program doesn't allow for much of a price break. Where an opt-out program, they have history that shows them that the suppliers that this is a good thing for them, they'll be able to make money as well as present a really competitive price. So then, you know, the folks who decide they don't want to participate, we'll pull them after that 21-day period. And then there's a final, what they call a rescission notice, which actually comes from the utility that says, you're going to switch suppliers. Are you sure you want to do that type thing? And if you don't do anything, then you'll be put into the program. If you opt out there, you'll remain with the utility. So the opt-out letter comes from the supplier of the aggregation program. And then basically you can kind of think of it as a second opt-out notification comes from the utility, which is referred to as a rescission notice. So if you ignore both of those, then you'll be in the aggregation and the electricity or gas will start flowing and savings will start at that point. I speak in terms of electric all the time because that's the most popular. Gas is the exact same process. Any kind of, I like turning this into a conversation because I know people have questions. Any questions so far or any comments? Anything?
You opt out, you opt back in.
Yes. So that's a good question. There's no fee to leave or fee to join at any time. So you can start off in the aggregation for a while, and for some reason you just want to go back to the utility, you can do that. If you don't, you want to see how things go and then opt in, you can do that too. It's the same. The supplier generally gives you like an 800 number that you call and opt in. If you run into any issues opting in or out, that's when I get involved. Call me. We'll try to figure out if there's issues.
Both gas, I'm sorry.
Both gas and electric. Yep, correct. Yep. But part of our role here too is to help you through issues. I mean, you're going to have, you know, questions. You're going to have people who, you know, we get it all the time. I never got an opt-out letter. Impossible to know whether they did or didn't, but we'll help them through any questions that they have, or if they have trouble enrolling in the aggregation program, we'll help them with that too. Generally, it's pretty easy. Considering how many meters we have in aggregation in the state of Ohio, which is tens if not hundreds of thousands, it is hundreds of thousands. You're going to run into issues, and we're there to help you with it.
This is one thing we covered at our meeting that's probably valuable. What if you go out to bid and honestly the utility rate ends up being less?
Okay, so that's happening right now, right?
Is it really?
As of today. Before I came here, I was in Zanesville. So Zanesville has ceded authority to the Muscatine County Commissioners. I was meeting with the city and the county, and it's tough because of when their contract started. So their contract started in July. Well, if you're going to do an electric aggregation deal, July is about the worst time you can do it because it's in the middle of the summer and that's when pricing is the most expensive. And so what we're doing, I think the price to compare right now is just over 10 cents, and like the cheapest thing we could find over the last 6 months is like 10.5. So it's really close, but it's still over the utility price. And so what we're doing is from July to what we think will probably be December, we're not sure on that yet, we're sending everybody back to the utility because that's the right thing to do. It's no fun for us because we get paid on usage. Our fees in our per kilowatt hour price. So if nobody participates, you get paid. But we look at it long term. You know, we got to do the right thing for the people. That's why this program is there. And so we'll kind of take a knee on that. And then come December, we think the market will be in a different place, and then, you know, we can look at different options for them. And I'm saying December, end of the year, doesn't have to, could be before that, depending on what happens with the markets. But thanks for bringing that up, because we're actually going through that right now. It's not fun. We don't like it, but it's the right thing to do. And so that's what we're doing for now.
And that was the point he stressed to us, is we're gonna go for the cheapest price, whether it's with utility or through the aggregation. If the aggregation doesn't work this time, then maybe in a year or two, maybe it makes more sense.
But for those prices, the price you negotiate, that'll be, you'll send that in a letter or say.
Yeah, Mayor, that's a great point. So the opt-out letter will have all that information in it. It'll have the term, the price, and the supplier. And so, you know, you're going into that knowing all the facts. And so, yeah.
So you'll do gas and electric together, basically.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to start at the same time. In fact, they probably won't, just because they're different seasons. But yeah, we recommend putting them on the ballot at the same time, and the theory of group savings is the same. It's tougher to calculate gas. This is where it gets a little bit in the weeds, but the utility electric price, you generally know the price to compare. You know what you have to beat because it's published in advance. So when you're getting, that's how we can kind of look at Zanesville and decide it's on the high side. You know, we don't like this, so we're gonna wait. Gas changes on a month-to-month basis. So gas aggregation, we usually do fixed prices, and gas is more of like an insurance policy. It's like you put a ceiling on what you're going to pay. And so we don't know what the gas price is going to be out, because it's based on the NYMEX price. It's a variable price. But we obviously consider the futures market, what we've seen historically, before we make any recommendations like that. And that's all stuff we go over when we get those RFP results.
So what I'm hearing is that first, if the voters decide to join an aggregation, they don't have to participate, they can opt out.
Correct.
They can opt out and opt back in, you know, as they see fit. And if they're real savvy, which I'm not, I'm in Mount Vernon, we aggregate and I don't pay attention. But if they're really savvy and they find that the aggregation price is starting to exceed the utility price, they can use that information on their own, opt out, and go back to utility at any point.
Correct. Yeah, and no fee associated at any point with any of that for both gas and electric. The other, I did just a snapshot of aggregation. It's just a couple paragraphs there. And then the last document I hand you is the electric aggregation savings over the last year. So we do savings analysis at the end of the summer, and this is handed out in October at CCAO meeting. So stuff's almost not quite a year old, but close. But what you can see there is some really significant savings over time. And, you know, obviously the sooner the aggregation program gets put in place, the quicker you start saving. And you can see there's large counties, there's small counties, there's ones that we've just started and everything in between. But the common denominator is they're all saving a pretty good amount of money. And this is, you know, electricity. It's a commodity. You know, if you can save $50 to $100, say annually, that's $50 to $100 that people probably spend here. You know, and there's, you know, as I say, your bulbs don't burn brighter because you buy from the utility. It's a commodity, so it's very price centered.
Cool. So I do have one question.
Sure.
Maybe a couple. So when a village or a township or a county sees authority, you were mentioning Zanesville having a better price than you guys, and you give it back to them. What happens with that authority? Does it stay in your court or is it handed back?
So Zanesville ceded authority to Muskegon County. They were just at the meeting, just because they're kind of partners in this. So in that instance, nothing changed. Yeah, you're saying if we don't sign a contract and send everybody back to the utility, right? So no, they still have the authority. When you see authority, you have authority until otherwise, until you all decide to pass a resolution taking it back, more or less.
Okay. My next question is that, looking at this, and I used to work for military government and a few other things. On some occasions, acting OIC. I see that this Ohio governmental aggregation, who actually came up with this program? Government, state of Ohio? Was it a conglomerate of?
I think it was the state that put the parameters in. It's under ORC. I mean, like all the code that we have.
ORC codes.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is some government programs don't know how to manage themselves. So in the best interest of, the village and people around our area, just make sure we think about them first.
Totally understand.
That's all I have. What else?
Can I ask a question? Because I do this at home. The transmission and distribution service charge, is it still there? Through AEP and you guys just.
Whether the supply at the utility side and the supply side are separated, but yeah, same as you'd see on apples to apples. In fact, that's kind of.
I mitigate my electric bill that way because it's the only way to save any money. But my AEP electric, my transmission, distribution, and customer charge is about $140 a month. On top of whatever the electric charge is.
Right.
The only thing you're negotiating is the actual electric itself.
That's
it. You're not the transmission, the distribution, the customer fees, all that stuff, you're still paying for from AEP. Just so you know, not.
That's right. That's correct.
And I know you stepped in a little late. He did mention it like right in the first few minutes about it's only part of it.
Yeah, it's only what you're referring to is the regulated side. You're right. Nothing you can do about poles, lines. Yeah.
What are typical transmission fees? Like my bill is usually $40 a month total for me. So if you have
I had $900 bills this month.
dang,
2 of them.
You turn your lights on or anything
well, we don't have outside lights and we have
$40.
40, the highest we had is 70. We don't have air conditioning. Well, how'd you know? Yeah, but it's gas.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, because I'm scared to touch it. I don't want to touch the panel. I don't touch nothing. I don't touch nothing
Your
about it.
meter's been bucky.
Like, what are typical transmission fees on top of?
It depends. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on your usage, like load profiles make a difference. So every meter is going to be a little bit different. I can tell you like the utility price to compare. So the supply portion, which is outside on the other side of the bill, which is what we deal with.
Yeah.
That's like 10 cents right now. But your transmission, so like it's all based on tariffs, and tariffs are updated throughout the year. So it changes throughout the year. All of it has to be approved by the PUCO. You don't really have any recourse. You can call the PUCO and disagree and file things, and, but
Bring your pitchforks.
yeah, but that's, in actual practice, there's not a ton you can do.
Well, Mr. AI says 0.035 to 0.045 per kilowatt hour.
Yeah,
For an average 1,000 kilowatt hours is $35 to $45 a month just for transmission.
And transmission get plunger. Great.
You don't want to touch it.
Yeah, don't touch it.
I'm not touching.
I wouldn't say a word while you're lying.
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's an old panel. I'm not up
I think that could be under pirating, considered pirating, something.
We deal with a ton of situations where utilities make mistakes. We just had a customer who you know, it was a business who was, they weren't huge users. I mean, I think we found out that they used 100 to 200,000 kilowatt hours annually, somewhere in there. And for 2 years, they were billed 1,000 kilowatt hours. They just, there was a switch that happened that they fell asleep on, and this place got free electricity for 2 years. I mean, not virtually free.
So,
Usually they'll come back, usually they'll come back and say, hey, we made a mistake here. Here's what you owe us. And yeah, I mean, you can argue whether you use it or not, but generally they make you pay. This was the first case that I can remember where they actually just said, all right, we'll start from here. That was not, nonprofit, so maybe that's something to do with it.
so just to ask the Palmer's third party vendor.
Yeah, we're independent energy consultants.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when you guys handle the supply to the customer, how do you monitor that using the latest technology? Because I know they've changed and updated my meter so many times.
So that's all, the billing and all that, that's all utility side, so we don't really deal with that at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what it is now, so.
But yeah, no, they've, at least in Toledo, they've done smart meters and all those updates, but that's all regulated utility stuff.
I see in Ottawa County, you have quite a presence here. I have a meter in Ottawa County,
Dude,
and it's considerably less than it is here.
hopefully that's the aggregation.
Council, any more questions for Bob?
I don't have any.
So the reason I brought him out is this is getting a second reading on your agenda tonight along with gas and electric. The hope would be the council would decide in July. If the council did decide to place it on the ballot, that would give us the sufficient time to get it to board of elections. Obviously, if there's any questions you think of after tonight, just let me know. I'll email Bob. I'll also talk to him if you would like to see I know we're streaming it now so that people who watch the video can see the information about Broad, but if you would like to set up well, maybe what we'll do is we'll see how council decides whether we put it on the ballot. If council does decide to put it on the ballot, maybe we'll give you a call back or we'll have a few information sessions or.
I'd be happy to, that's part of our role.
I'm wondering if we could do something at the Farming Festival, set up a table and have that information available to walk through, that way meeting people.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking
It
for.
would be good timing.
Things like that where people are so that, we can answer questions that they might have. If, I can't tell you how many times we've seen it, where it loses is generally there's a lot of co-op. And I think we talked about that. There's not any in the village here, I don't believe. There's a lot in the county. And so we've done it. We've put it on the ballot countywide for Knox County and it's lost. We've done it a couple of times. And it loses by the same percentage that the co-op serves. So if the co-op serves, 55% of the county, unincorporated areas of the county, it loses 55-45. So co-ops tend to vote against this, not out of malice or anything, just they think it might affect their co-op, and it doesn't. Where we've seen the success is in villages and cities where there really isn't much of a co-op present. And generally that's where we've seen some success. So it's not that people vote against it because they don't like it. It's because they aren't aware of it or don't understand.
We just have it on the ballot village. It would just be on.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's why villages are like in Licking County as an example, I think in our ag that we run through the county, every city and village is in it except barring maybe one. And we've put it on countywide now 2 times. And I think it's lost by like 100 votes or something like that.
Individual townships can't do it as well.
Exactly, yeah. So the individual township, and that's what we're going to probably start doing, is going to look up the results, and by the different precincts, and then decide, well, take it to the township trustees and say, hey, look, your township wants this. The county shot it down, but your township wants it, here's the numbers. And so, part of this is not just getting the villages and cities involved, but the township if they're interested as well.
Farming festival is a good place to maybe get some interest.
Yeah.
Additional bid.
Because yeah, at this point, if the village passed it, if council put it on the ballot, the village passed it, we'd be grouped with City of Mount Vernon and Fredericktown, and so all of that population would feed into the savings. Obviously, the more parts of the county we get in, the better.
Yeah, we're gonna work at that. That's part of the plan as well. And it's never, we don't, get everybody in at once. That's just not how it works logistically. You can't be in the same place, So, we'll have, early adopters and then some folks come in later and hopefully it just continues to grow.
But Mount Vernon, do they aggregate?
They do. They have for 20, 30 years maybe.
Yeah, I was at the council meeting last week. So.
If I may, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
So with you guys being a third-party vendor, you're more or less like a broker. Kind of wondering, with the state of Ohio starting this program and having ORC codes, are they looking to tamp down, like, AEP, those guys trying to rake people over the coals in terms of pricing? And this is to mitigate for the greater good of the people, or?
So, I think that was kind of deregulation in general was the goal. And that's co-ops have always been able to shop supply from the beginning. And what was happening is co-ops were able to shop supply and theoretically that's what utilities should be doing. And co-ops actually started to kind of have cheaper pricing than the utility did before deregulation, which people would sit there and say, well, how is that possible? We're bringing a much bigger load and well, it's just a big organization, the utilities are, it's a lot of spend. And so that's kind of what led to deregulation. And then deregulation was sort of the step to try to open the free market and let in competition and try to drive the pricing down. Aggregation is just sort of a vehicle for that.
All right. Thanks.
I know we've got a few other items, so if council's good, we can move on to the agenda. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Good to see everybody. Thanks for having me. And any questions at all, please feel free anytime. Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys need Bob's info, I can give it to you directly.
Yeah, I have some cards. I can drop those off on my way out.
Perfect. Okay, utilities. The next topic, obviously, I'm sure many of you are aware, we had a blockage on Preston Street, created backup into, I believe, 4 or 5 basements, and then the fix created a backup into another basement. This kind of piggybacks on, frankly, a few blockages we had in the area of Calhoun in the last few months. And recently, just so everybody's aware, we had a stormwater break at Water's Edge that the staff was able to repair, which is great. But each time we have a breakage or a blockage, it does generate a cost either through bringing in Bishop Unlimited or some other vendor, or even some of our partners in the other municipalities. So later on in this discussion, I think we're going to talk a little bit about investing. Now that I've had a chance in 9 or 10 months to see the landscape, investing a little bit in our equipment for the utility. But the first thing I want to talk about is the Preston Street break. Generally, and I've sent all of the customers who have reached out from Preston Street to our insurer. But generally, the insurance's obligation, and this makes sense, is as soon as the village knows of an issue, it's our responsibility to resolve that issue in a reasonable time frame. But if we were unaware of an issue, the insurance isn't obligated. So it ends up, for at least 4 of these 5 customers, it ends up falling back onto their homeowner's insurance, whatever their deductibles are and things like that. I wanted to start having a discussion with council about if we should do any more to help offset that cost. also understanding that that's a slippery slope. So, we're gonna have blockages in the future. Should we be spending utility money to offset that? The other customer I mentioned, whenever we create a situation, even if it's intended to fix an ongoing issue, we are obligated. So unfortunately on Preston Street, there is one customer who our insurance is going to work with because our activity to clear the line created a situation into their basement. So I just want to have an open discussion. Has council heard much about Preston Street? What's our thought on how we want to handle this moving forward? I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Harden yet about back in his time. I know in speaking with the fiscal officer and, I believe Terry, on her experience here, whatever insurance did is what village did, and whatever insurance didn't do, village didn't do. So what are our thoughts, feelings? What have we heard from Preston Street?
I only heard from what was on Facebook, not to flush things, that's all I heard, and then I heard it was Dave's, and that was it.
Yeah. It was this issue was the result of flushable wipes, which are not actually flushable. So, I mean, they are. They'll go down. They just will get stuck in our seats.
You just want to, oh,
Correct.
I mean, bear some responsibility. The things that happen to your home. I mean, it blatantly wasn't done on purpose. I think we'd open ourselves up to anybody get a speck of water in the basement. Expecting the village to take care of that.
I got a little more to spec. I'll tell you what happened. Mine is, Rick knows, I gave him a copy. Invoice for clearing the pipe, which they would cover insurance. It didn't cover the damage, and we're gonna fix that. So I would think there's a couple of things I think we need to do. One, I discuss with you this afternoon about, we have a schedule to check manholes on an ongoing basis, because that's what backs up.
What caused the flood?
It happens at our lift station over on Johnsville Road as well. It's flushable wipes. It's basically baby wipes.
Let's find the person, flush that. And then sue them for the cause of it.
What did it cost, to get your basement clean?
Approximately, estimate now is $10,700. That's rugs, wall board, everything that the water touch is all sewer.
We able to put out notification to everybody that it says it's flushable, it's not flushable.
We did.
Megan did it.
Yeah. I ran into that issue with the septic system that when it gets past the filter, gets into the switch box and onto the leach field. It's really the same concept. So, yeah, it's cool. My family flush these things.
Yeah.
So,
But we have to have some way to, okay, if we're not gonna, like I said, if we start inspecting.
Yeah. I think I would rather invest in the man hours to do the inspection ahead of time,
regular PAs.
rather than get ourselves into paying residents back and then where does that end, or
I don't know how long that take.
To inspect every manhole, I'd have to look at the GIS. I mean, there's a lot of manholes, but let me check with Alex and see how frequently we could get out there to look at manholes. Because this isn't the first time. I mean, we got a report from the library. Now, we own the building, so it's on us to back up anyway. But we got a report from the library a few months ago about, some issues with flushing. We pulled the manhole and it's full. We fixed that problem. Not a month later, same area. Our guess is that whatever the blockage was, we managed to push further down the line until it got blocked again. And so let me see if I can report back to council next meeting with how often we can get around the village and check into manholes. I believe there is a schedule now. I don't know how frequently it is. But it got to my next point, which is we've been sort of holding off on a few investments just to see if they're the best investment, and I'm beginning to realize that they are. So probably in the next month or so, I'll be coming to council. It may be in the neighborhood of $200,000 for 3 purchases. One was planned that we haven't done anything with, which was to get a new lift vehicle for when they go into manholes and things like that. So the second investment is a decent sewer camera, so that the guys can actually go in and camera the lines, and then a new jet trailer where we can jet the lines out. One of the things that's starting to really rack up for us is the cost of just calling out a contractor to jet camera the line. And so I feel like the time's now where we should invest, and we've got about $1 million in reserve in the sewer fund. We're holding off on some of those projects for like the sludge building and everything to get through the comp plan to find out what the big solution is for that. So I feel pretty comfortable coming to council next month with the neighborhood of $200,000 in sewer purchases. That being said, it's not just sewer that's the problem, it's stormwater. We've had complaints from customers along Hartford because we know that there's a collapsed storm line there that we just don't have the resources to address. Water's Edge had a collapse. Now you think that's one of the newest stormwater areas in town. We find out later that it was basically the pipe was bedded with sand, and basically the way they installed it, they cut it, created a problem. So I think probably by this fall, we'll need to start having a discussion about a stormwater utility. I'm hoping if council decides that we want to try and generate some customer savings on aggregation, we want to discuss and maybe realize some customer savings on trash hauling, then maybe a small fee per month to go into a stormwater utility fund wouldn't be bad. Now, a stormwater utility is like a sewer utility. You can only spend that money on stormwater solutions. So whether it's, bidding out to try and replace the Hartford line, whether it's some other stormwater need we have. So I know this isn't the first, this council's probably heard of it. I know Terry mentioned it, probably Mayor Sands in the past. We're probably getting to the point where we need to start generating some revenue for stormwater fixes, because right now the solution is we spend general fund money for storm. So that's what I'll bring to the next meeting. I'll bring our schedule as it is today, but also how aggressively we can check our manholes on the sewer side. I'll ask about stormwater as well, and then I will have a list of likely purchases that we can look over for next meeting.
They make a device, it's called a tattletale. You can put it in a manhole, and if the water raises up, it sends an alarm. But I don't know which manhole do you.
That's what I was gonna ask, are you tracking like where you're finding when you are checking? So
Yeah, so Alex
what
keeps-
problem areas?
Alex keeps spreadsheets on everything. And this is one of them. Yeah, whenever there's an issue, and that's how we kind of knew. When we had the issue at the library, the first time they jetted it out, it cleared the issue. Literally jetted the same line a month later, it cropped back up again. And so it felt like we were just chasing whatever that blockage was through the line. Whether it was flushable, who knows? Once we get rid of it, we don't really see it anymore. So.
I'm thinking, like, if there's something, an alarm or whatever, we could identify like some illegal or problem spot, and that might be a smart
Yeah.
investment. But
I
I
like that idea.
definitely like the idea of trying to catch things ahead of time, because I'm sure Dave would prefer to not have to do all of this to begin with, so I'd rather do that on that side.
So that's how it looks like water protection system.
You just flood it when it gets so high.
So I have 2 questions, because I know when Joe Harding was here, I sat in on a few meetings back when. I know that the maps weren't updated for all the sewage lines, because they ran into a few issues. But then my second question is do we have personal protective equipment for the guys if they have to actually go into the hole? Whether it's rebreathers or respirators, make sure they're not breathing in particulates or any type of noxious gas.
So I do know that prior to me getting here, Alex and Terry invested in a lot of protective equipment for the staff. So I believe we have gas monitors now. There is a trench training with fire, I think, coming up next week that the guys are participating in. And yes, they've got all of the safety equipment they need to be able to work within a manhole.
So they'll have masks though.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then in terms of maps, so Terry had started work on this. We have finally got, I could actually pull it, sitting right up there now on the screen, but under a tab. We now have GIS maps of all of our, thankfully Delco got us their water infrastructure. We've got maps on sewer, stormwater. So we can actually go online now and see our infrastructure. I'm not saying it's 100% perfect, but as the guys go out and notice that maybe a line is 10 feet off from where it's, we can start making those corrections. But when, to your point, they were working off the stormwater map that was literally a map with stormwater lines drawn on it as of a few months ago.
Do you know, I meant to ask you, are those masks full face? That way they protect the brain out gas?
Let me check. I don't know for sure. Yep, I'll get you information on that.
Do we know how many vehicles?
Off the top of my head, no.
83,
We,
83 sewer.
here,
I can pretty much tell you where they're at. I don't know the depth of them, right? Just, like,
So if we don't schedule, service on these, we're negligent.
I think Alex,
Yeah, I understand what I'm
I'm sure
saying.
Alex,
Well, it's just,
that's why I want to figure out what his schedule is, just with everything else, I haven't had a chance to touch base with him on what his schedule is. Because he had mentioned that Sean would frequently go around and pull manholes.
that was Terry, that,
it's something we need to take.
Absolutely.
That's boundary.
Yeah, I'll ask him what our schedule is now, and then if there's a way to do it a little bit more.
So I did get another bill for cleaning out that pipe out the street.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it may be possible if there are spreadsheets going back to kind of identify those problem spots now and not have to check everything.
If you need to start from one end,
And,
push it down.
well, if it's flushable wipes, you can't,
Well, you,
right, but if there's an updated going back to identify those problem spots, then we could probably just start scheduling those ahead of time and
put them on a 1-month rotation.
Right,
while the other
yeah.
one's on a 3-month
and not have to
rotation.
do all 83, did you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Do like these 6.
Yeah, because that makes sense, because I wouldn't want to not do any of them, because given the fact that one of our newest stormwater lines just had an issue, I'm not gonna say that anything new won't have an issue, so, yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate the feedback on that one. Any other questions on utilities? But like I said, I do expect that next month I'll come with some requests to make some decent sized purchases on sewer. So,
you have the money.
yeah, so we have $1 million in reserve in the sewer fund. I think part of the reason we were kind of holding that is we thought we'd be moving forward with partial flume project and the sludge building project, given the growth interest in the village, as well as given the fact we're doing a comp plan that's completely investigating growth and the expansion of the sewer plant. We pushed those 2 projects off. So the good news is we don't have any plan for that reserve balance right now, so we can move forward.
So we need to transfer money.
We will. So yeah, we didn't budget that extra $1 million. It's just sitting as unbudgeted revenue. So yeah, we'll come back with a increase appropriation.
So, you know, it's our crickets. I want to be there.
What did I tell you? I see you always got to have a love-hate kind of back and forth with the fiscal officer. Keeps you honest.
Chris really watches our money, and does a great job with it.
Yeah.
Never,
So we're coming up close. I just wanted to give council a few zoning updates. The last bullet here, though, it says if time permits. I actually addressed those all in my VA report, so we don't need to talk about those in this meeting. PD code language. So this Thursday, there is a special meeting with a number of public hearings. The first public hearing is to discuss the NCA and land dedication changes to the planned zoning code. The second public hearing is to consider allowing gravel parking services in the village. The third public hearing is for some variances requested by Schleybaugh to build their townhomes off Fairview Avenue where Senator Brestenford used to be. Greg Daniels, who's working on our NCA legislation, could not make it tonight. He tried to free up, wasn't able to do it. But he will be here on Thursday for our public hearing so that anybody can ask questions about new community authorities. How many council members would want to go to that meeting and ask questions of Greg since he's in town? 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll be here. In that case, just so you know, I'm going to announce that as a special meeting of council since there's a majority of you here. You guys don't actually have to do anything. You just have to be here and ask. But since there's a majority of you here, I want to make sure we're adhering to all of our.
Is that gonna be after the
It'll be during the public
hearing?
What's that? That will be at 7.
Is it gonna be streamed?
Well, we talked about it last meeting. We didn't decide yet if the commission would like those to be streamed. So I think the commission might like those to be streamed, but I think we should probably make a decision on that next meeting as well. What I could do is I could shoot an email out to the commission tomorrow.
Do we have to put that up in advance now?
What's that?
The meeting's gonna be streamed?
Why don't you just set it up? And we vote on it before we.
I also don't know that there's, and I'll ask Zach to look into it. I don't know if there's any reason, there's no prohibition from a village streaming its own meetings. Part of the reason we went through council is to make sure council was all agreeable, but also to set some parameters that, what that stream would be. All that the commission would be doing is adopting the same parameters. And I don't know, unless Zach feels different, well, it is an act of the commission to approve. Yeah, okay. So we could take a vote on that before the public hearing and then kick off the stream. I was gonna ask them to do it by email. Yeah. As I thought through it, that wasn't gonna fly. Okay, so we'll get the commission to vote right at the end of the meeting on whether they would want to stream or not, and then we'll just turn it on.
That works.
The other thing I want council to be aware of is we are anticipating this week receiving rezoning applications for both Johnsville Road and Croton Road, which would not occur in the June meeting, just because we need enough time to review the applications, put out the public notice, the public hearing notice. So I do anticipate either one or both of those rezoning requests to be at our July 20th meeting. So in anticipation of that, I have reached out to Ryan and just kind of held the school space in case we need it for that meeting. If neither of them request a rezoning in the next week or two, then we'll just continue to have it here. But I would anticipate that if both rezoning requests come through at the same time, we would expect a larger audience. But we will publish a special meeting of council for our June 4th special zoning meeting. And like I said, it's not for you guys to have to do it, it's just so you can all be here and ask questions and deliberate legally. So, any questions for me on any of these topics or anything else you're thinking? Do we have a motion to adjourn the work session?
Second.
Don.
Fully approved.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned. We got 1 minute.
It's funny, last night, I'm nervous.
I like.
Oh, it's my last, my first day of working for the West. Welcome to the club.
Oh, we got a flip chart.
Yeah, there's
How you doing, man?
Thanks, Zach. We don't know.
Well.
All I did for that.
Yeah, I think that you have to be there for areas of legislation. I just see what
So they really get excited about it. I'm getting that.
Okay, I will.
And then it's got the full chart. So, but.
Well, I'm gonna have to make a change.
I would, honestly, it's a majority there. Say yes, to sign my petition.
I think a lot of your jobs, Western Civil Chevy. And around the state.
That is what I'm gonna work on through the recycling of our last training. It's just, it started as a trash hauler bid. I'm gonna reformat it, put it, make it centerfold. And then that'll be when I present to you next month. I just know you like that stuff straight.
And then we're waiting on Don.
Yes. I threw a that's kind of like. No, I don't think so. I think it's been that way. Really? Interesting.
We actually.
Right.